Hey everybody, this is Jimmy Bell. I play guitar for House of Lords, Autograph, and the new exciting project Demons Down.
Hey, this is Michael Wilson of Queensrÿche.
This is Simon Daniels of Autograph.
Hey folks, this is Dan Bone from Devil's Train. Hey everyone, this is Glenn Hughes from the Dead Daisies and
Joe Bowman from Skid Row.
Everybody, this is Doug Aldrich with the Dead Daisies.
Hey, what's up, all you metalheads and freaks? This is the bastard child of New York City, Cole Rozick. And if you're not listening to Talking About Rock, what the hell are you doing, player?
Hello, welcome to the premiere of Talkin Bout Rock Live, sponsored by School of Rock, Rochester. Today is President's Day, February 20th. I'm Rob Edwards, coming at you live from New York. For the past 3 years, we've been bringing you podcasts, interviews from local and national bands from around the globe, from New York to LA, from Nashville to Germany, Sweden, France, and the UK. And if you did miss an interview, you can catch them all on the streaming services and here on our YouTube channel. And sign up for our newsletter at talkinboutrock.com. You can follow us on all the social media platforms at Talkin Bout Rock. Today, we're happy to be coming at you live, uncensored, uncut, and unedited for the first time. Today, we have for you a new friend of mine from Rochester, New York, a local rock musician, singer, and music enthusiast. Let's bring him into the show. Hello, Scott, are you there? No, it looks like he's still connecting in. Hey, Scott, how's it going, man? Oh, he's still connecting the audio there. Hello, Scott, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good, Rob.
All right, good, man. How's it going?
Fantastic, brother.
Thank you for joining us on the first premiere of Talking About Rock Live, man. We appreciate it.
It's all my pleasure.
Excellent, man. Well, you've done a lot, man. You are a local Rochester rock musician. You've been in multiple bands out there for years. But I mean, we're going to get into that. But let's go back a little bit. You have some interesting stuff you also did when you were younger, meeting some folks with your dad and stuff like that. Tell us about that.
Oh, the WCMF days. Joe Palingra, my father. He was a photographer at WCMF for a number of years. And at the time when he started that, I was living in Florida. And I came up to Rochester, and Dad basically introduced me to everybody here. Brother Weeze, Kano, all our Rochester favorite personalities. And there's not much to say about that. It's a couple, 2-3 things that we did. And Dad took me on a lot of shoots.
Yeah, so you've met a lot of people. And I used to listen to Brother Weeze all the time out there, man. That was great. But you used to get like backstage and stuff, and you met some folks during he was doing photo shoots and stuff, right?
Yeah, we used to go to the War Memorial when it was called the War Memorial back in the day. And he would do photo shoots for behind the stage. So people would come in, and St. Joseph's, and, a lot of different people. And right. I would help him with the lighting.
Now, was that across the street from the Hall of Justice, they used to call it? Was that the place?
The War Memorial? Yeah, that'd be the place.
Yeah, right. Because I always I went to a couple shows out there, and I always thought it was kind of cool. It's across the street from the Hall of Justice, right?
Right across the street. One of the things that, cool, one of the big shoots that the first time I went with him, we got to meet, Def Leppard. Def Leppard was doing their first show in the Round at the War Memorial.
Oh, really? So was that the Hysteria tour or something?
That was, yes. And they did the stage in the Round, so the back of the stage was set up for the photo shoots. And I went back there and helped them with the lighting and whatnot. But you get to meet everybody while you're doing the shoots. So Elliot and the rest of the crew were there, and Clark and everybody. It was a good time. A lot of good times with my father doing the shoots for the local radio station. That's for sure.
That's very, very cool. And they kind of had Def Leppard supposedly supposed to have a little special backstage area, something just for certain people. I don't know if they had anything like that set up there.
Yes, they did that
under the
that day.
stage.
It was the stage, the Rochester War Memorial stage, actually behind the curtain.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, there's some good stuff going on there. It was fun, get to meet these guys, and I think as far as the WCMF days, any event that was sponsored by them, my father had access to, and I would tag along with them. We're going back, 25
Quite a
years.
few years. Yeah, that's very cool. And so you went on to start a couple different bands in the Rochester area, right? You've been doing this for what, like over 20 years, right? You're in
Well, we
different
got
bands.
about 27 years since I moved back up here from Florida. And probably the first project was with a good friend of mine, Dan DeGeorge, fantastic guitar player. We started a band called Mood Swing, which was basically all original music. And, we played his music. We did it. It was a short-lived project, maybe a couple of months. But one of the really cool things with that is when our current place is Pineapple Jack's, that's here in Rochester, that sponsors a lot of the bands.
Right.
Very cool place to see. Dream Theater happened to be here for their first tour and their first album. And one of the things we were able to do is open up for them, which was, in my eyes, one of the biggest things that could ever come along.
Oh, sure. They're fantastic, man. Yeah.
You get your 15 minutes of fame, and we were very new. So we were the opener out of three.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Right. So,
But
that's where you go from that. And from there, we broke up and we started another band called Most Wanted, which is a Southern rock band that my roots from growing up in Florida and South Florida, that's where they came from. So I was a harmonica playing Southern rock singer,
Very cool. Yeah.
15
So you guys did
project.
some Skinner and maybe some 38 Special and stuff like
All
that.
of the above, brother. A lot of Molly Hatchet. I've actually opened up for Molly Hatchet. So, we got to open up for Molly Hatchet down here in Rochester at the Penny Arcade.
Oh yeah, the Penny
days.
Arcade, man. That was such the cool place back in the day, right? I remember seeing so many shows advertised. I couldn't make it out there to see that stuff, but oh my God, so many different bands came through there, right? Rat.
Half of the guys you interview have come through that place.
Right.
Anybody from Great White to anybody you can mention has come through the Penny Arcade for the national shows.
Yeah, that was just such an amazing place. A lot of history there, and a lot of folks still mention that. A lot of national bands still mention that every once in a while. It's like when I ask them if they played in the area, and they do have good memories of that place for sure. So you went on to play some in another band after that as well, or?
Well, the Most Wanted project, that band, we lasted probably 15 years here in the Rochester area. And we opened up for a lot of national acts. As far as I've opened up for Blue Oyster Cult. We've opened up for Orleans. We've opened up for, you name it. I have 26 to go through.
Right.
And they're the Rochester Armory. They were Armory gigs and whatnot.
Right.
And Jolyn Turner, John Cafferty, who's coming back out on tour again.
Oh yeah, I heard that he was going to start touring again. Yeah, that's interesting. That's very interesting.
Some really good stuff. Jolyn Turner was one of my icons.
So what do you think about the new Jolyn Turner look, man? Did you see that? Now he's sporting the look like I got here.
Hey man, fantastic.
He still sounds
who you
great.
are,
Yeah, he still sounds great. I really like his stuff for sure. I'm a little bit more in tune with the Rainbow days with him with that, but
definitely love Rainbow.
But even not yourself doing bands, you also have family members and other folks that have been in bands in the area as well.
One of my cousins, I have a lot of famous cousins right now, but one of them that got me into the scene is in my first time in the Penny Arcade, if you want to talk about the Penny Arcade, was the drummer Jim Fox. And Jimmy Fox was in a lot of projects here in Rochester, but he was known for the band Toronto that came out of Canada. So he was in Toronto. He was also in Cheater.
Oh yeah, I
And-
remember them back in the day. Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
Was it the '97 Rock compilation thing? And they're on that. I think it's volume
Exactly.
2. Yeah.
Exactly. Imagine coming up at 18 years old, 19, and not being able to actually get into the bars because the drinking age was 21, and having your cousin say, "Meet us in the back, we'll get you
Right.
in."
Right.
You
Well,
know.
it changed the whole landscape for bands and bars and everything when the drinking age changed back then. It just threw everything into chaos for a while.
For a lot of people, but unfortunately, I was getting into them when I was 16, 17. I was a big
Yeah.
kid. So
Yeah. So was I.
good
But
stuff.
yeah,
Man.
but
Good
I
times.
hear that about that from different venue owners and from different bands, because I've talked to some of the earlier folks, like when I was talking to Billy in the early days with Talus, and I was talking with Jesse Galanti. They were telling me, back in the day when all of a sudden that changed, because they were playing out like 5-6 nights a week before that, right?
Exactly.
And then it went down to 2 or 3 nights a week when that changed. Obviously, the bars aren't making money. Everybody's not coming out. The landscape totally changed. You know what I mean? So
We
but-
had a good time as much as we could, as much as I could, until things started to fizzle. But a lot of memories there, Rob. Lots.
Lots of good stuff. Yeah,
I could
definitely.
tell you most of them, but then I would have to kill you.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break here. We'll do a quick commercial and we'll be right back here with Scott on Talking About Rock Live.
Hi-Fi Hits Records sells new and used vinyl, CDs, t-shirts, posters, and other collectibles. Stop, shop, and relax at our in-store bar. We're open 7 days a week and 24/7 at hi-fi-hits.com. Hi-Fi Hits Records and more, 5221 Main Street in Williamsville.
Okay, we're back here on Talking About Rock Live with Scott Palingra from Rochester, just telling us about some of his great memories, Penny Arcade, all the different folks he's opened up for, man. That's just amazing, dude. That
Yeah.
stuff was going on back then,
Had a pretty good run, and the Most Wanted thing fizzled out. The guitar player moved down to Texas to pursue his personal stuff, and we started the band The Chronics, which has been going. We've been doing that for like 12 years up until the COVID scene hit, and things change. And that was one of the we took that band all over the place. Good times, local musicians, phenomenal. Some of the best around in Rochester that I can remember. So
Yeah.
very,
And
very
I've been
proud
to
of
a
that
lot of
project.
shows out there lately. You and I hang out every once in a while up there. There's still lots of great music going on
Man,
out
there's
there, man.
it's after COVID, this thing hit so hard. There's too many bands and not enough sound companies. There's not enough sound companies to cover the bands, literally. So I mean, that's the thing. We need more sound men, guys. Come on.
Oh, I'm sure you'll get those. Yeah, there's quite a few out this way, but yeah, so that's what's lacking out there. All right, yeah, we'll put that out there, man, and see what we can do and get some more folks.
Definitely.
But you got some great clubs out there, man. Buncie's a great club. I got to
Dave
make it out
Bunce.
to.
Buncie's Bandstand has been one of the just premier places to play these days. You and I spent a couple days there this week.
Yeah, that's great. And I got to get up to Iron Smoke and check out Tommy Burnett's place, Iron Smoke
Fantastic.
Distillery, whiskey distillery. That is amazing. And Pineapple Jack's was really cool too.
Definitely.
I went up to
We had a
there
good
and
time there
checked
a
that
couple
out.
weeks. We've been going there a lot. Actually, I'm going to stop in there Friday. Local band Audible that we just got to check out Saturday night. Fantastic band. Chris Iannone, Todd Tracy, and the boys. They did a really good job. Going to stop in and see him for a little bit this Friday. But that's the place where we opened up for the Dream Theater thing. Back in the day, it was called 3Ds.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that's actually the same club.
Right, and Buncie's used to be something different as well back in the day, right?
Oh boy, Millennium days. The Most Wanted. We were getting ready to go to Hollywood, California. We were in the World Championships of Performing Arts. So basically, we won out of Rochester, out of a few bands, and we got to go up there. So it was a 22 country event. for originals and whatnot for the World Championships. We came in third. We took a third place for original music, so not too bad. But just as we were getting ready to leave, we played at Millennium, and we had that was the Most Wanted days. And the biggest memory from that night, and it was towards the end before we stopped playing there, was the Wild Pigs.
Yeah.
The Wild Pigs Motorcycle Club. Never
Oh yeah,
forget it.
you're telling me about this. Yeah, that was crazy. So they were like a club, but they were
police officers.
They were police officers who just happened to have a motorcycle group.
Unbelievable. They were all there for the night. We get to the end of the night, and when you're doing Southern rock, one of the last two tunes we did was Green Grass and High Tides, and of course, Freebird.
Right, of course, right. Everybody wants to always hear Freebird, right? To get the later.
There's always 15 people in the beginning that are calling for it, though, but we always got to wait. But they were getting ready to remodel the flooring in there in about a week and a half, and somehow the owner got to the members of the Wild Pigs. As we were in the middle of Freebird, the doors open up, motorcycles drive onto the dance floor and start going in circles and burning out. Unbelievable story. You had to be there.
Oh my
God. A lot of us remember it.
And did you know they were going to do that? Did you know they were going to pull that?
Not a clue. Not a clue. The bar used to sponsor a lot of their events. So, I mean, at the time, we were just doing our thing. And we had the room packed and they were there having fun.
Oh, so the bar was in on it too, just you guys were
completely in on it. I guess he wanted to get his flooring up a lot easy, the dance floor.
That I guess would do it, right? I don't think you could do that nowadays. I think people would get pretty upset in general in the crowds.
No.
It was a little bit more lighthearted back then,
it wouldn't have worked on tile, okay? But at the time it was linoleum, so it was like the linoleum tile.
You would have had videos on social media like in 10 seconds right away. This was going on, right?
Yeah, I wish we had camera phones back then and smartphones, because there would have been something else to see.
Yeah,
that's all tucked away now.
Right. That's very cool, man. Definitely very cool experience for sure.
We told the owner, Dave Bunce, about that, and he was just shocked. He's really? I go, yeah, can we, if we ever play here, can we drive motorcycles on the dance floor?
Yeah, you could never do something that wild and crazy. No. And because there's been a lot of crazy stuff that's happened in clubs, right? And so like everybody knows the Great White story, what happened with all that, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
So you're definitely going to always be overly cautious on anything in any of the clubs nowadays, because of that and because of COVID and lots of other things. But that's the one thing that stands out to me as a really bad experience that people really remember.
Here's a good one. The California Brew House, another place that sponsored every single band that's ever come through Rochester. Their stage is high up. So the lighting cans behind the drummer, they radiate a lot of heat.
Right.
And I remember the beginning of the Most Wanted crew, because we've had an extensive lineup throughout the years. And I remember playing the one time, it was probably the middle of the night. And the bass player looks at me and he says, "Scott, I think your hair's on fire."
Oh my gosh.
Well, the cans generate a lot of heat. I look over and I say, get out of here. Next thing you know, I smell hair burning. So, you can't get too close to the fire and not get burned.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's true. Right.
It's the lighting can. So hopefully we got LEDs.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. And you've been to lots of different concerts out there, I'm sure. I was asking you about this the other day. What would you say is like one of your worst experiences being there?
Being my worst experience for a concert?
Yeah.
Or my concerts?
Yeah. I think you were telling me yes. Unfortunately, yes wasn't a good show. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Hold your thought on that. We got someone calling in for us. Sure. Oh, looks like we got Donnie calling in from Bonfire. Let's say hello to Donnie real quick and bring him into the show. All right.
All right, Don.
Donnie B, you're live on Talking About Rock Live on YouTube. Hey, good to see you, man. How's it going?
Right on, man.
Excellent, man. We got Scott here, Scott Blinger here with us from Rochester, man. We're chatting about his career, man. I said maybe a couple folks might pop in and say hello, man. You're going to be playing Buncie's coming up, right?
Yes, March 11th. Yeah, it's our first show of 2023.
Excellent, man. So what's been going on? Catch me up. It's been a while since we chatted, man.
Let me just finish typing in my thing here.
Okay. No worries, man. Yeah, so when I saw you guys last, we did a quick little thing at the club. We did, I think we might have did like a little backstage thing quick with you guys last time I saw Bonfire. I think it was at the Evening Star Concert Hall, I think, when I last chatted with you guys, man. So it's been quite a while.
Yep. Right now we're on our winter break. We take off December, January, and February because 2 of us live in Cortland and the rest of the guys live in Rochester, and we just don't want to deal with the winter storms and the travel and stuff. And I know if you're from that area, you should be used to it, but I don't want to get in a situation where I'm dealing with a club owner, a theater owner, an owner says, well, we had a big storm tonight. Would you take half the money? And not doing that.
Yeah, no.
So we'll take those 3 months off, and we play from March to November, and we don't
really
have to deal with those issues.
Really, that must happen more than once, huh?
Now we've always been pretty smart about it. Maybe once or twice it's happened a long time ago, but we just learned from that. So, but really more than anything, I'm fielding daily requests and emails for the band to play, and sending off, quotes, if it's a situation where they have in-house PA, or if we have to hire and bring it in because we don't own it, we don't carry that stuff with us. Or if it's an outdoor show and they're going to provide, PA and production, or if we have to hire it, a lot of detailed stuff just to even get the show, talked about or off the ground type of thing.
Yeah, and you have a unique AC/DC show, man, because you're the only AC/DC show I've seen that has a bagpipe player playing. That's pretty unique, dude.
Yep. That was he came to a show in Syracuse, and it was the second year we were up as Bonfire, and he's like, if you guys will have me, I'll come to every show and play. So he just started just joining us as the 6th member, and we throw him a little bit of cash, and he loves to just even hang out. So we even made it a point so we can have him introduce the show. Like, he'll come out first, kind of get everybody's attention, get like, what's going on with the bagpipes,
Right.
And then we come out and start playing, and then we put Long Way to the Top somewhere in the middle, and then we start the show, and we kind of build to that point, and that's when the show really starts to get to the top of the roller coaster. And as soon as you do Long Way, and then you go into Thunderstruck and stuff like that, you start to get down that other side of the roller coaster and just cruise on out.
Very cool. Yeah, you guys put on a great show for sure. What dates do you got coming up? Can you hit us up with some that you got coming up soon, or are you still planning it out?
Well, right now we're working. You said shows, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Some noise out in the hallway. March 11th is Buncie's. March 17th is at Remedy, which is the Finger Lakes Track and Casino. That's the St. Patrick's Day show. April 1st is at the Stone 8 Tap House in Clyde, New York. We sold out there last year to 250, so they wanted us back this year.
Excellent.
The same weekend. It was like April 2nd last year. It's April 1st this year.
Cool.
And then April 7th is at Nashville's. And currently, right now, I'm looking for 2 shows in May. I'm looking for something away from Rochester so we don't saturate the area too much.
Right.
For something on May 6th and on May 20th. And I just got a guy in the Catskills that might get us for 2 shows, one in May and then one in September. So I've been doing details for that. So I don't have anything in May right now. And then in June 3rd is Whiskey River Pub and Grill in Charlotte, which is still considered.
That was the last show I saw you at.
Yeah,
it was the Whiskey River show. Great show.
Yep, that guy Bob there, he loves us. And it's a party every time, man. We start ramping up, the drinks start flowing, and so he wanted us twice this year.
Nice.
So we got June, and then Father's Day weekend, June 17th, we're playing for the 5th straight year in a row. We're playing at the Oneida, New York American Legion. They have a big outdoor stage, and we get about 300 plus to come to that every year.
Very
cool,
man.
That gets us up to June. Yeah.
Very cool. Sounds like you were busy. You got stuff rolling, man. Well, thank you so much for popping in and telling us what's going on. I hope to catch you at the Bunsey show coming up, man. Great to see you, man. Thanks for calling in and chatting with us for a minute, man. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Great to see you guys, and thanks for the time, okay?
Yeah.
Take
Donnie,
care.
have a good night, man.
Take care, guys.
Cool. Donnie B from Bonfire, the AC/DC tribute band. Folks, you're looking for another AC/DC tribute band? Check them out on Facebook. And looks like they still got a couple slots open, it looks like.
Fantastic guitar player.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
right. I know. And you know, I love when they bring out the dynamite for TNT. I kind of like that. That's kind of cool, right?
Definitely.
But with the other guy playing the bagpipes, never seen that in an AC/DC show. Unique, right? Very cool.
Guy's good too.
Donnie's a good guy. So what we're talking about concerts, yeah. Before Donnie popped in to say hello. So you're talking about your worst concert, because everybody always says, "Oh, what's your favorite concert?" What was your worst? You said like Yes wasn't a good show. I find it hard to believe.
Yes was a quiet show at the War Memorial when I went to see him. It was slow. The worst show would have to be at Darien Lake, and I went to see Supertramp.
Yeah.
And it had been a long weekend, I gotta say, just up front. It's not probably 100% all on them.
Bro, yeah.
But
some people don't like seeing shows at Darien from what I hear. I've seen a couple. For me, it's where I'm sitting at the show at Darien. I don't want to be in the lawn. I want to be
and we
closer.
were in the lawn.
Yeah,
we
I don't want to be there. You know, I won tickets to a Judas Priest show, and they're in the lawn. I'm like, give it to the next person. I'm not going. You know?
Yeah, it was a quiet night. Let me tell you, I fell asleep halfway through, and they were doing one of the best songs that they do, School, you know, and it's like they had the Jumbotrons are set up with a train rolling down the tracks. It was so hypnotizing that it actually put me to sleep. And that was a 20-minute version of the song. So, but there's, still can't take it away from them. Good times. And the best concert. You had asked me what the best concert that I had done. It was probably the second concert in South Florida that I'd ever gone to. And it was down at the Hollywood Sportatorium. And it was Ted Nugent. So it was Ted Nugent and Johnny Van Zant opening up for Ted.
Oh, that's killer. That's killer.
It was almost kill or be killed for this one, I'll tell you. We had a bunch of New Yorkers lived out in Port St. Lucie at the time. That's where we were living.
Okay.
And we got two van loads of a bunch of Italian crazy guys driving down to, 2 hours away to go see Ted Nugent. We did a little party and a little too much. And there was an incident where chairs were stacked up to about 7 feet in the air. And then, one of us climbed up to the top and got a little frisky and jumped out into the crowd. I'm not going to mention his name, but it's, me. The knee is bad to this day because I barely. Oh, man. Yeah, definitely. Talking about
no stage diving for you anymore. Those days are done, right?
Yeah, they're all done. Ted's definitely not swinging out on a loincloth. So
yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, Uncle Ted, he's a wild man. He's very outspoken on all the social media about all his beliefs for sure. Still a great artist, great musician, he comes to town every once in a while. I missed him last time around. He was at Riviera Theater, but phenomenal guitarist, great gonzo,
good stuff.
That had to be a killer show. And that was real early for Stevie Van Zandt, right?
Well, let's go back. I'm 55. I was 13, 14. So, that's before Leonard Skinner, obviously, and he was coming out doing his own thing. I believe the title track from the biggest song of the night was Brickyard Road.
Oh, yeah. That's a great track.
The song about his brother. So, that was what we actually knew him for, was that song. I didn't know a lot of his stuff at the time.
Yeah.
And, the Southern rock actually bit me, and that's what I've been singing for all these years. So it was a good time.
Gotcha. Well, looks like we got another call coming in, man, real quick here. We got Chris Gustafson calling in from Trauma. Let's check in with Ben. We're getting some calls in here, man. Hold on 1 second. Let's bring Chris into the show. Chris Gustin. He's currently out on tour with Queensryche.
Yeah.
They're doing the Awakening tour out there with the guys. Queensryche doing their Digital Noise Alliance tour with them. See if we can get Chris Gustin going in. Chris, how's it going, man?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Oh, great, man. Thanks for joining us on the premiere Talking About Rock Live, man. How's it going with the tour? You guys are out on tour with Queensryche.
Well, we're not out yet.
Oh, that's coming up.
3rd.
Yeah. March 3rd, yeah.
Yeah. But we're gearing up for it right now.
Excellent. Yeah, you guys got a lot of dates from what I saw going on with them out on the road. For the Awakening tour, right? Basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, that looks like a great bill, man. I was so happy when I saw that you guys had jumped on that. I was so happy that they saw that they jumped right from opening for Priest to doing their own tour. And really that's where they should be, right?
Yeah. 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 Well, we feel pretty fortunate we're able to do this for sure. So
yeah, that seems very cool. So how's the sales on the new album going for The Awakening? That must be taking off for you guys. I haven't checked in on it.
Yeah, everything seems to be going pretty good, so far. I mean, we've gotten a lot of good reviews off the record, and it seems like overall people have really, liked it a lot. And yeah, seems to be going pretty good.
Excellent. Very, very cool, man. So you guys start in where's your first date that you're playing out at? Your first date on the tour, do you know?
Yes, the first one's in Orlando, Florida. Yep. So we have, I think there's 3 gigs we do in Florida, and then we start traveling upwards and outwards.
Upwards and outwards.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Well,
yeah.
Thank you, man, so much for popping in and telling us what's going on with you. Anything else you want to add, or anything else that's happening?
Not much, man. We're just like getting ready to do this tour and really looking forward to it. And as soon as we get done with this, hopefully we will have an opportunity to still be able to go across the pond, maybe do some European dates in the fall. And then maybe start working on new music. So just trying to stay busy.
That sounds like a great plan. Yeah, excellent, man. Yeah, they love the music over in the UK. There's lots of festivals and lots of things going on with that.
Exactly. Yep.
Very, very cool. We'll tell Michael Wilton from Queensryche I said hello. He was on the show a while back. Great guy. I'm so glad you guys hooked up and you got on that tour. That sounds like a perfect bill for you guys for sure.
Are you going to try to get out to any of the shows?
I might get out to a couple of them. I've got to follow the dates and check it out. I would love to see that. I saw Queensryche when they opened in here. It was in Albany. They opened for Priest.
Right.
And I got to tell you, I wasn't sure about Todd singing for Jeff, right? Because I kind of like Jeff, and then Todd came out and he's just crushing it.
Crushed it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
he's just crushing it, man. So I really love it, and I love that they returned to their original type of sound that you're expecting from Queensryche. That's what this album is to me for them. So,
well, I saw them open up for Priest at the Fox Theater in Oakland, and I thought they were really, really, really good.
Yeah,
definitely. They sound freaking excellent.
Good stuff.
Yeah, definitely crushing it. So, folks out there, you want to check out the tour coming out in March. Trauma's opening up on the Awakening tour with Queensryche on the Digital Noise Alliance tour. Get out there and check it out. Check the website dates. And yeah, I'll be checking those out as well, man. Maybe I'll see you guys out on the road.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right, man. Thanks for popping in, man. Have a great night, dude.
You guys have a good one, man. Take care.
Yep. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
All right, Chris Gustin, guys, from Trauma, going out on tour with Queensryche. Excellent, man. That's such a cool bill. When I saw that, I'm like, that was a perfect fit.
And that was the show that I didn't make. I was actually watching your live streams for that concert.
When I was out at the Queensryche show. Yeah.
Great show.
Yeah, I've been wanting to see them for a long while. Like I said, I was a fan of Jeff Tate, so I wasn't sure. But then I heard the new album and I was just like, Michael, you guys have got the sound back to what is expected from Queensryche. The songs and the melodies and the I really love the track Hold On. I think is one of the standout tracks for me on that album for sure. But I would go to see them again for sure. So Todd Latour is crushing it, man.
Yeah, I think he did a great job.
Really liked it.
I want in.
Yeah.
I want in. You let me know.
I have to reach out to Trauma, man, to see if you can sit in with Trauma a little bit or something and see.
Yeah, that would be great.
Maybe we'll get some heads up on when they're coming to town. But yeah, very, very cool. So excellent, man. So all the cool concerts happening. Love to see that going on. What concerts are you looking forward to this summer, man? Anything going on out there that you're looking forward to go and see or anything, or any band names that come to mind?
I'm looking, nothing rings a bell right now because I'm pretty diverse when it comes to, I like everything. Yeah. I literally like so much, I go from the slowest music to the heaviest music. So anything that comes our way, I did want to see Osmosis. And after the last show that they did at I believe it was Del Lago.
Yeah. No, was it Del Lago? Was it Del Lago? Okay. I mean, it was Del Lago or Turner Swing. You're probably right, but yeah.
Okay. Well, whatever they were, I was impressed. Right. And I know that show is going to be coming out to, I believe, the Forks
in July with Appetite for Voltage playing with them. I'll be at that show, man. You got to join us. I'll be out there.
Definitely sounds good. We got our local boys involved in that.
Yeah, they invited Talkin Bout Rock out there to come and cover the event. I was very happy. They were so nice to have us out at the casino last time. Such a great show. Ricky Woods and the guys just sound amazing. Stage show and everything, the costumes, and the guitar player. It's just a great tribute band to Ozzy. I was really impressed because I'm kind of a big Ozzy fan, so you kind of got to do it right, and they're doing a great job.
I started celebrating Black Sabbath week a week ago, and today's Tony Iommi's birthday.
Right.
So, well, I believe it was either yesterday or
it was yesterday, I think.
Yeah. So with the time change, but yeah, very, very impressed with the whole lifetime of the Black Sabbath thing, and these guys did such a great job. The guitar player was fantastic, and I just my jaw dropped. So I definitely want to get out to see these guys do it again. Hopefully I can make it out there. Hopefully I can make it out there with you guys.
Yeah meet us out there at the Forks in July. I think the show is, it'd be cool. We'll hang with Appetite for Voltage for a little while, and then we'll hang with Osmosis after the show and chat with them a little bit. Great guys.
Guys.
I brought them when I went to their last show. I had a cross that I purchased from one of our local horror collectibles and goth collectibles place out here. And I saw this cross and I brought it home. I'm like, I really want to display this. And then he tells me he has a second one. I'm like, well, that's pretty interesting. I'm like, put that on hold for me, dude. So he does. So I'm thinking, I'm like, wouldn't that be cool to give it to the guys in an Ozzy tribute band? Right?
Sure.
They could use that during their performance because Ozzy always used to come out with the cross all the time, right? When you come out on stage, Speak of the Devil, stuff like that. And they didn't have anything. I'm like, so I presented that to them at the show, and they really liked it. So it was very cool.
I was at that show, the Speak of the Devil tour with Brad Gillis.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite live thing from him.
Unbelievable. And that was another Hollywood show, Sportatorium in Florida.
Yeah, that was not an easy thing for Brad Gillis to step into those shoes at all, right? Not at all.
We thought that in the beginning till the first song.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying for him as an individual, he had to be very, it was a scary situation, but he brought it right away. There was not like any doubt in anybody's mind, So Ozzy was actually under contract to deliver one more album to his previous management, and he didn't want to deliver new material, is from what the story I hear. So he decided to tape the show at the Ritz when they did Speak of the Devil, and they gave him that material as a live album.
that was a great show. And the other two on the bill, I believe it was at that time, I'm 99% sure, if memory doesn't fail me, was Vandenberg and Fastway. So, I mean, I'm going to actually check back into that. I've been to so many concerts, but
I think you're right, because I did see Fastway open for Ozzy back in the day. I think it was, I can't remember which tour it was on. If it was on Ultimate Sin, I can't remember which tour. It was one of the first ones that I saw him live, but
fantastic.
We were partying a little too much to really consider Fastway.
That's why my memory kind of escapes me at this point.
Yeah. And now I really wish I would have stood there and really watched the whole show with Fastway and Fast Eddie Clark and doing all that, you know. I'm sorry I missed all that. But yeah, back then you're more interested in partying during the opener, you know, in the parking lot before the show.
Try 5-hour pregame.
Right, exactly. It was a pregame. It was pregame warm up.
Concert day. Now we go to work, and at the end of the day, we will make the concert. We used to take the day off. That wasn't work.
Right. Well, very cool, very cool. Scott, man, thank you so much for joining us on Talking About Rock Live, chatting with everything, man. You have such a cool history of stuff, man, going to shows. I know I'll catch you at some more shows out there, man. Thank you so much, dude.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on here.
You got it, man. I will see you soon, man. Have a good night.
Okay, brother. Take care.
All right, man. Bye-bye.
See you.
Scott Palingro, folks, from Rochester, local music singer, music enthusiast. So he was nice enough to pop in and chat with us for a while tonight. So awesome stuff. So cool. All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to show a little bit of some of the video clips of some of the folks we interviewed, and we'll be back here in a couple minutes back live on Talking About Rock. I mean, but what was your thoughts when you guys got Carrie in the band? You're like, okay, we're gonna do some shows, we're gonna do some touring, or was there already talk about
just one show?
It was just one show.
Just put together one show.
Just put together. It was just another one of those that's going to be a one-shot deal. And then it turned into the 1985 album.
Exactly. Well, the tour turned into that. Once we did the tour, we thought, geez, you know, it sounds pretty good.
Right.
We could pull this back together again.
Right.
We realized we had all these songs left over that we never played and never finished and never recorded. So we thought, let's do this.
Yeah, and it's doing quite well. Yeah. And obviously, you guys, you know, struck at the right time.
What's wonderful about that is that once we decided to do that as a group, all the people that rallied behind it, between management and the Canadian Friends of Phil, people who did the record cover and did all their recording for us, just the engineers involved, just incredible.
Yeah, I think it's an amazing tribute and legacy to Phil. Definitely what's happening. He is looking down and loving this.
Yeah,
you know, it's amazing. It's amazing. Tell me a little bit about your interactions with Phil and things that happened with you.
We had a riot. We were in a band together.
Yeah. Because I was watching the interview on the Rochester, and they're like, "Oh, you're the guy with the hair," when they're talking about Phil. He was the one that always looked like the rock star.
Great hair.
Right. You got the great hair. But everybody just said he was such a unique, genuine, awesome guy. Yeah. When he talked to somebody, he didn't talk to them like he was a rock star. He talked to them like
he was always down to earth,
right?
Nice and friendly to everybody. You know, it's a person that you cannot love. You know,
right.
So he was just an amazing friend. I mean, to me, one of the greatest rock singers. You know, not only here in the country too.
Yeah. So what he did on the album was just incredible.
Right.
And the fact that he was able to shoulder all that burden.
Right. He was ill when you guys were recording all this, right? And you cannot tell that in any way, shape, or form.
He didn't tell us.
Right. That's what I heard.
We knew, but he didn't.
He didn't let on to how bad it was.
How bad it was. Yeah.
Right.
So it was really.
And his performances are amazing.
Oh, astounding, isn't it?
You know,
when I listen to the album, I'm just shocked.
Because I was listening to some of the live footage the other day, and then I go back and listen to the album, and it's just it both sounds great.
Yeah, such a great voice.
You know. Yeah. So it's
just so sad.
It is, and along with Phil, of course, Sebi just passed, Sebastian Marino from Audio Images, and I bring him up because he's one of those guys right at the beginning of this album. He was the first guy. We called, if we're going to do an album, how are we going to do this? Where are we going to record? We talked about places in Rochester.
Yeah. So where did you record it?
Right here.
Right here in Rochester.
In my house.
In your house? In your house. So
in my living room. We moved all the furniture out.
Wow.
You probably heard the story, but the story that I tell is that Stubby came over to my house and we were talking about how can we do this, where can we go, and he mentioned maybe my warehouse in Batavia, and because he's got a big warehouse out there, big room, everything would be big, and we're mainly focusing on recording the drums. Right. So then we came right in here, and I hit my snare drum, played my drums a little bit, and he says, let's do it in here. Right in this room, record the drums.
Right here.
And we would have the band spread out throughout the house, but we wouldn't all necessarily be in the same room, but we would all be playing together.
Right.
And use a remote feed to hear each other.
And fill in like another room with like a vocal booth or something, and you were maybe in another section.
Yeah. So then
wow, that's really cool.
It was cool,
really
but then
cool.
I said, no, this room, I don't like the way it sounds, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Was it the acoustics right? Was it? Did you have to add anything?
Well, we didn't record in here. Let me finish my story.
Oh, I'm sorry. Get that out of my mouth. I'm sorry.
So I said, let's check out my living room. So I grabbed my snare drum, I took it in the living room, and I just hit it one time. And we both looked at each other and smiled like, this is it. Let's do it here. Because the living room, if you notice when you walked in, has a vaulted ceiling.
Right.
And that it's kind of an echo chamber in there, a natural echo chamber. So we decided to do it in there. And he backed up a truck. He had 3 of everything we'd ever need. 10, 16 microphones, stands, equipment.
It was the mobile recording studio ready to go.
Opened the door and we put the mobile recording studio in my shop. And then had wires running through the house and connected to my kit over here. And then Billy, and we had separate equipment for Billy and amp for Kira. And Phil actually did his remote vocals. They weren't. They were just scratch vocals for the albums that we could guide tracks, so to speak. Right. He did those out here in the shop with the engineer. So he was singing. We could hear him, but we couldn't see him. So the 3 of us were all playing in the same room. So it's kind of neat.
That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah. Right now, with the way it is, with we just got out of the pandemic and stuff, and a lot of people use home studios, and that's kind of the way it is. With things right now, doing a lot of recording from home work, but that's really cool. You just found out the sweet spot in your place right here, and then you just let's just do it right here.
Yeah.
That's very
It's convenient too. People coming in from flying in and staying overnight. And stayed here.
Right. Makes it more simple. You don't have to coordinate.
We had a blast.
We did.
Kind of 3 days, right?
Yeah, 3 days.
Like 2.5 days recording the drums. Also, we put the demos together. The structure of the songs.
Right.
Where the final drum takes, everything was done in this house. Because back then in the summer of 2020, and June, I went and Lisa went down to Nashville. That's where I recorded the guitars for the record, at Billy's house.
Okay.
He has a beautiful big house and great studio, And we had Scott Bush, running the project, engineer, And pretty much in 2.5 days I was done with everything. I did record like 15 songs,
That's pretty quick. Yeah, that's pretty quick. Yeah. John, you were familiar with all this because you've been playing it for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I did my homework like I always do, So
we all did.
And even when we were doing the guitars, we had some technical difficulties. We could not line up the demo tracks we did over here. So for some, maybe half of the songs, I had only drums. And me myself
as your guide, kind of to play along with it and stuff like that.
But it was so much fun. It was a great experience working with Billy and Scott, and plus, I doubled everything up, so. It was really fun, I tell people, because the session was on a big TV screen, and Billy's phone was connected to the screen, so you see all the big names you can think of, and actually just coming through that talking, taking videos, what's happening.
Right.
It was like, oh my god, we had a blast, it was so much fun, I stayed there for 5 days, then we kind of went Nashville, kind of check out the city.
There's a lot of cool stuff out there to see. He's been out there for a little while.
It was really a great experience. We had a good time in the restaurant then.
And where'd you guys do the final mix? Did they, where they sent it off to do the final?
In Toronto.
Yeah.
Even the vocals were done in Toronto too. And when they first started the vocals, I was part of the first session where I had my feed and my computer behind me, behind the screen here. And Russ was up in Canada, Phil was up with Russ, and Billy was in Tennessee, and we were all on a Zoom call listening to Phil sing. And finally, I went through a few hours of that, and I just thought, you know, too many cooks spoil the brew.
Right.
So I just thought, Billy and Phil have a handle on this.
You guys got this.
Yeah, you guys got this.
You guys got this.
They
right.
really, man, between the two of them, getting all the nuances right, and all the phrasing right, and the words just proper, everything has just turned out perfectly.
Yeah, I really like the version of Intermounting Flame. Crystal clear, sounds amazing. Obviously, and the new tracks, just excellent. I really, really like it. The DeLorean car. Who came up with
Awesome,
that?
isn't it?
That was really neat.
I think that was Hugh
saw
Stein.
that. No,
Hugh Stein came up
seriously?
with the idea. Yeah, I think Billy had the 1985 idea.
Right,
You know,
right.
1985.
Kind of
And then
pick up where you left off a little bit was the idea behind it, right?
Yeah, and Hugh took that and, you know, stopped the DeLorean and the movie, Back to the Future.
Back to the Future,
Yeah,
right.
And then Billy was kicking around the idea of having an old DeLorean with a tree growing up through it and all that. And
Right, for talent, right.
So Hugh took it, and what you see is what Hugh created for us. And just did an astounding job. I think we've had more compliments for the cover than we have for the music.
No. Well, the cover is definitely what gets people's attention a lot of times if they're not familiar with the band,
cover.
right? It's an amazing cover, and it fits that time frame perfectly. I did not know it was Hugh Stein, obviously, so famous for designing the logo for Rush.
Yeah.
You know, which is timeless.
It is.
You know,
This cover is gonna be timeless too.
Exactly. Right. So
So many people ask, like, the first impression was a question. Oh my God, who did the cover? Like, this is freaking amazing. It's
Yeah, that was
four
amazing.
raccoons. Us.
That's it's
really fortunate, and that all is a connection with Phil.
Yeah.
That's a Phil connection. And
Phil knew.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I heard the news about Phil's passing. He's just such a talented and such a gentle
Unfortunately,
guy.
he didn't get to see the actual
He didn't get to see
product.
the finished product. But
Well,
he knows that it's out there. He knows
I think
that you guys are
I think
doing
he
right
saw
by
the
it.
final product, and he heard really close to the final product. We just didn't get a chance to see how it got realized in public, you know, which would have been really nice. That was would have been a blessing.
And it is. It's charting all over the place. You guys are getting all kinds of streams on Spotify and all the other streaming services. You know, there's a lot of hopes from fans out there like myself that maybe, you know, when Billy has time with it after his other project, you know, he's done with Winery Dogs he's got going on, and he's got Mr. Big going on. Maybe we'll see another one-off show from Talus coming to a town near you. You know, it'll be somewhere near Buffalo, we hope, and Rochester, obviously, of course. You know,
got a few more songs that we didn't release too. You know,
that would be great.
I think we can.
That's called an extended edition or
right.
special edition. You get the extra songs on the special edition, and you get the other. You get maybe another shot of the DeLorean or something cool.
Yeah.
But that sounds great, guys. It's just so cool to see this music come alive again. It's a legacy to Phil. It's a great tribute to you guys to bring this back to us. We really appreciate it as fans.
No
You
problem.
know what I mean? I grew up listening to all this stuff, you know, and it's like you thought also probably, Mark. It's like, okay, we did that. It was a great thing. It happened, and now there's other stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden, it happened again.
Yeah.
And maybe it's going to happen again.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
You know, it's really a blessing for me to have this happen at this stage in my life. I'm retired now, but at the time, 2017, I was still working, but knowing I was going to retire soon, you know. But who gets a chance to revisit their past?
Right.
How many people?
Not many people
Not many
in this
people.
type of way. You get maybe a little teeny bit of a taste, but it's
it's a blessing too. I still remember the days and the posters I had hanging up in my room, you know, like from Billy with David Lee Roth.
I was a big David Lee Roth fan. When he joined David Lee Roth, I was like, yes, of course. It was
All the
amazing.
guitar magazine stuff like that, you know, which I ended up now since the 1985, you know, came out, and me as a new member of the Talus, you know, so I got featured in the Guitar World, vintage guitar magazines, Guitar and Bass in Germany, so it's like, oh my God, like, so.
That's incredible.
I'm blessed, I guess.
Hi-Fi Hits Records sells new and used vinyl, CDs, t-shirts, posters, and other collectibles. Stop, shop, and relax at our in-store bar. We're open 7 days a week and 24/7 at hi-fihits.com. Hi-Fi Hits Records and more, 5221 Main Street in Williamsville.
Another track I really like, Jim, because I love the lyrics. These words you speak. Outstanding drums, great guitar tracks on this, and another song where the vocals and the music just gel right together for me. You know,
that one, Vinny arranged that one because initially it was a mess, really. The song.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
There's so many different parts, and I came up with so many ideas, and the words were just cool. The words were really good, but it wasn't really flowing. And then Vinny said, "Hang on," and in Vinny's expertise, he took it and he chopped it up and kind of rearranged it, and then we re-recorded it. And now it's a really cool tune.
I think it's an outstanding song on there for sure. It's an outstanding album. I love the Sabbath and Dio influences for all us metal fans out there. Definitely, it's great. Yeah. And I got one quick thing for Vinny. I got one quick thing for you. Why the hell are you not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? That's all I want to know.
Because they're a bunch of fucking assholes.
That's all I want to know. Why you're not in there? That's my only question, really, for you.
I mean, Sabbath wasn't in it for how long, right? They got in it, and I've been to that place, and there wasn't really much of Ronnie in there either.
Right, I stood in front of one showcase of metal stuff, and that was it.
It's like this, Ronnie? Come on, Rainbow, Man on the Silver Mountain, Long Live Rock and Roll, and then Sabbath, Heaven and Hell album, and the rest of the albums we did, and then Dio, and he's only in there for like this 12-inch square placemat or something, and they'll mention me, it's like, hey, you know what? I've been around, I'm still around from all these years, so I guess it doesn't count for anything,
Oh, great, man, great. So this latest album is like a combination of the last 2 years, right? You've been putting it together?
Yeah, pretty much. We started writing it in when the UK went into first lockdown, and there was nothing else we could do but write music. Pretty much the same as probably every other musician in the universe. So
right.
We thought, what can we do? We can't do shows, we can't rehearse, so we'll start writing music.
And you have Andy Sneap producing it, who'd work with Judas Priest, Accept, Blaze Bayley, Dream Theater, the list goes on and on. Saxon, Exodus, Megadeth, Testament. This guy is a phenomenal producer for all these bands.
Yeah, well, we've known Andy since about 1988. So we went out with his band. One of our first tours we did, we went out with Sabbath. We opened for them back in '89, and we kind of remained friends ever since then. And we keep in touch and sort of see how he's getting on. So when it was time for us to try and start up the band again, he was like, "Oh yeah, come on, speak to me. I'll sort you out. I'll help you out."
He'll get you. We're so glad you guys could attend, and it's so great. So I've been going through some of your history. This band has been touring everywhere from LA clubs to Germany, Japan, Korea, an AC/DC fan convention in Norway. Guys opening gigs for Foo Fighters, Alice Cooper, Starship, MSG, and this all started in 2000 that you guys started this?
Yes, 2000 was when the concept came to my mind. And 2001, April was the very first Whole Lotta Rosies show in Los Angeles.
Okay,
yeah.
and then I think you saw Stacy. Was she performing in something else, or she sat in some gigs with you guys, and then she finally joined the band, or how did that work?
She did. I saw her years ago when I first moved to Los Angeles, and she was doing an original project called Slippery Lip, and when I saw her at a club, I was mesmerized by her. And then years later, after I started the band, I saw her again at another club singing, and I had a singer, but I I was still mesmerized by her. Stacy always calls it our love story. But anyway, she filled in over the years for us from time to time, and we were always glad to have her. And then a couple of years ago, we got her as a full-time singer.
Excellent. Yeah. So Stacy, you're raised in San Fernando, and you originally had your band Slippery Lip, and then you also had another band you were doing. You're chosen for the Valley Dolls, right? You also performed with them.
Yeah, that was a good one. It was a big project and everything. It was my first. I had started as a cover band in Slippery Lip, and we progressed into doing originals. And when I went back to doing the covers with Valley Dolls, it was kind of a little shocking, but it was a good time. Not as good as the time we're having. We're having.
Right. And then Trudy found you, and then you joined here.
Yeah. It's quite a love story. She's quite the temptress, this one.
Cool.
Can't say no to her for very long.
Right. And let's go to Melanie. Melanie, you're originally a founding member of the Iron Maidens, another great all-female tribute band, and now you're in another amazing tribute band, female tribute band, Whole Lot of Rosies. That's got to be great. Tell us a little about that.
Well, I've been very privileged to play with some really great players. My friend and I put together the Iron Maidens like way back in the day. We were playing in a mixed gender band, and we had to find the right musicians and clicked together very well. And in fact, that person was playing bass on Whole Lot of Rosies. Her name is Jenny Warren. She's awesome. She was playing bass on Whole Lot of Rosies before I joined. So
okay, so that's how you got the gig in there. All right, cool.
There's a big musical incest circle
around the LA club. I'm sure there still is. Yeah, definitely. And Sherry, you started playing originally at 17, and you were touring with another band called the Pandoras or something like that, correct?
Yeah, the Pandoras. We were we're still an internationally known band from the 80s. And I toured with them I was in the band from 87 to 90. We toured all over the country and Canada. It was pretty awesome.
Excellent. And Nancy, so how did you find this ragtag bunch here and join this crowd? How did you get in here?
Exactly how I got the memo that they were looking for a guitar player, but I did go see them at the Cat Club, which was right next door to the Whiskey a Go-Go. And I was super interested. I went, auditioned, I got the gig, and I've been playing with them ever since. And I think that was in 2005.
We're back here on Talking About Rock Live. Just checked out some video clips for some of the different bands that we've interviewed over the last couple months. So we have our next guest here ready for us. We have Josh Crum from the Diary the Madman podcast. Let's bring him in here, and he's my guru. We talk to about all things Ozzy. So let's welcome Josh to the show here. He's connecting in. So Diary the Madman podcast just covers every aspect of Ozzy. Such cool stuff. These guys are in tune with everything that's going on the internet. With Ozzy, following his career, following the Patient Number 9 tracks and everything. I think he's connected now. Josh, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can't see you yet, though.
Oh.
Got to start that video.
Always something, isn't it? Always something with me. I tell you what, I give you a lot of grief. That's for sure. How about now?
No. Hey, man, great to see you. Thanks for joining us, man. So
absolutely.
You are. I was just telling the folks out there, your podcasts are my Ozzy gurus, man. You guys are in the know. Diary of the Madman podcast, the ultimate Ozzy podcast, all things Ozzy. When I want to know stuff about Ozzy, I'm checking you guys out, man. Thanks for coming in and chatting.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the kind words. We really appreciate it. Dan Drago and I, we really have a blast doing our podcast, and there's nothing like getting on there and just talking a little Ozzy. And it's soothing for our souls just to get on there and discuss. And really, we discuss all music in general. If there's anything else going on in the world of music, we'll throw that out there for a minute. But ultimately, for us, it comes down to our guy, Ozzy, and we just love talking about him, man. Unfortunately, we have been on a short hiatus. I'd imagine you'll probably ask me about that shortly.
Yeah, well, actually, the first thing I want to ask you about is as you know, all the thing that Ozzy fans have been waiting for, besides the album, are the Grammy wins for Ozzy.
Yes.
We've all been waiting for that. We've all had our fingers crossed when the announcements came out, where this needs to happen for the man before it's too late for him. And then it was amazing. He won He wins two, right? Best for hard rock, best hard rock album, and best metal performance for Degradation Rules. So it was like getting Tony in there too.
Absolutely.
That's excellent. You had to be jumping for joy when you saw that.
Absolutely. You know, that's actually that makes 5 total for Ozzy over the years.
Right. Yeah, the Sabbath ones too. Yeah.
Well, he won 2 with Sabbath. But what was great is, you know, he won for best metal performance with I Don't Want to Change the World off of the Live and Loud album. And then Sabbath won for best metal performance for Iron Man off of Reunion. And then Sabbath won for best metal performance with God Is Dead off of 13. So he had never won anything but best metal performance. So to win that again with Degradation Rules was awesome. But I think the icing on the cake for Ozzy fans and for Ozzy, he's made some comments to this himself. Best rock album. That's a fucking massive Grammy for him, man. And totally elated. The only bummer, and I'm sure you'll agree, that should be a category that's aired on the broadcast. I think best rock album. I'm a little bit disappointed they didn't air that.
When I saw that wasn't going to be on the live broadcast, that's definitely a snub to real rock fans. You know,
I think so.
And I think it's like a U.S. snub, right? Because the kind of general consensus in the U.S. is just rock's not a big thing right now. It is in other areas of the world.
Yeah,
you know,
But they aired Best Electronic Dance Grammy, which I know Beyonce won it, and that's, you know, I get it, but it's like, that's not bigger than Best Rock Album. Like, there's not more people listening to dance music than rock music. That felt like a snub. But that said, totally elated that he won. You know, he was nominated for 4. So to win 1, we were over the moon with it. And I speak for Dan also. You know, we couldn't be happier and proud of him. 74 years old, man, and putting out Best Rock Album of the Year. And the thing is, Rob, I think you'll agree, a lot of times these Grammys feel like, especially in the rock world, like it's given to who not necessarily is the best album or the best artist, but who they think kind of like I'll just say it, like Sabbath winning it for Iron Man in 1999 or whatever. It gets a little odd at that point. You know what I mean? Like, it's nostalgic almost.
Right.
But I think for best rock album, I think Patient Number 9 deserved it. And I think it literally stood up to every other album in the category with it, and he deserved to win that one. I truly believe that.
Definitely. Well, definitely the tracks and the sound are much more fresh, and it's for the newer generation for sure. You know, it's like almost it's almost like what I would consider like a dancey funk metal pop kind of combination with Andrew Watt. He really has a great handle on the sound.
He dials in, man. He dials in.
And you know what? I'm starting to see that kind of sound now come out from some of the other artists as well. With that type of thing, with that more fresh type of feel. You know, I think he kind of set the mark for that with this.
And he said, you know, the one thing that Sharon had asked him was she wanted this album to be a little heavier than Ordinary Man was. And I think they produced that. Dan and I had a conversation just the day before yesterday, actually. I'll get your thoughts on this, Rob. Patient Number 9, the track Patient Number 9, is it already an Ozzy classic?
You know what? I would have to say yes, because I watched a lot of the behind the scenes video with him talking about it and Sharon talking about it. You know what I mean? And I think so.
I think so also.
I would have to agree with you, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And even the live performance when they performed it for Monday Night Football that night or whatever, Sunday Night Football, the opening of the season. That video I noticed on YouTube just last night has like almost 5 million views. So just for that live performance. So I think so too. I think it's a Ozzy classic at this point. And to be putting classics into your catalog at age 74, it's amazing.
It is totally amazing. I really like some of the other tracks on there too. Stand out to me. Mr. Darkness, love that track.
Yes, good.
Was that a thousand shades?
1,000 Shades.
That's another one that gets me. I'm playing that track all the time with Degradation Rules and Patient Number 9.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I watched the behind the scenes video for it, with him making all that stuff and putting all the effects and getting the demon type of guy together and doing all that stuff, putting it together, that was very cool.
Yeah, they put it together. It was not, nothing was slapped together. It was all like they put money behind it and time and effort.
Right.
And a lot of people don't do that these days. I agree totally.
Right. It was totally very professional, very thought out, very structured what they were going to do. And the artwork was just killer for this.
Yeah.
I think the cover fits the time and reflects him in a great way at this time where he is. I think it's very fitting, everything that he came out with. He got some great folks to play on this with him. I can't believe anybody said no to him for it. I think they're kicking themselves now. We know who that is that they're kicking themselves now for that. But just go ahead.
No, please. I was gonna say, and Jeff Beck, rest in peace for Jeff Beck. We lost him since the album released. But the one thing that Ozzy and crew helped do for Jeff Beck was his first ever #1 rock single. And it also won a Grammy that he unfortunately didn't get to see that part of it.
Right,
but how cool for Jeff Beck that he got to cap his career off with these great moments also. But, Andrew Watt does such a good job of tapping into what is mainstream. So when you look at the guest appearances and you have, Taylor Hawkins and people like that, that's for the younger generation a little bit. But then you got your Eric Claptons and folks for the other older generation. But then you have your Rob Trujillos, guys like that who are going to keep it heavy and keep it metal, and they're going to make sure this is going to be a pussy album. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be a hard rock album and driving.
Yeah,
Rob Trujillo's not going to.
I thought it was outstanding to have Jeff Beck on there. I had to go back and listen to his stuff again to realize how amazing this guy was and just what he could do, the sounds he could get out of a guitar. Nobody else
absolutely
understood
and I'll tell you,
or could do that.
For me, and you made reference to this track earlier. I was telling this to Dan the other day too. I said, as this played out, we're a few months out now. As good as Jeff's playing is on the song Patient Number 9, I think I prefer him better on 1,000 Shades. I love his work on 1,000 Shades.
Yeah, that's another track to me that I've just played to death because I like that. Always comes up in my playlist because I play it so often.
It's so funny you say that. That's what I told Dan. I said that's the one, and his is God Only Knows. He listens to God Only Knows all the time. And I said mine is 1,000 Shades. It just plays over and over. It seems like.
Yeah, such cool stuff. And you guys got to have such an awesome trip, and you were chosen to go out to Sirius to check that out. Tell the folks a little bit about that. We're going to check some of that out in a minute.
Yeah, greatest fucking thing. Like we reached out. They were looking for people for the satellite radio for the Sirius XM listening party. And I reached out, but I just put, hey, I live in Kentucky, but I'll be there if you pick me, whatever. I didn't mention our podcast. Well, Dan, my co-host, he mentioned the podcast that we did this Aussie show and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if that's what got us there or not, but we got there because they chose Dan. He, of course, picked me to come with him. And once we got there, they allowed, I don't know, Sirius XM VJs, I guess they're DJs actually. They asked a few questions, and then they had 5 or 6 in the audience, and they chose us to ask questions also. So extremely cool moment. I found out on a Tuesday evening at about 4:30. I live in Kentucky, and by the next afternoon, I was on my way to go see Ozzy in Los Angeles
and ask him some questions.
Matter of fact,
cool.
Right here, this poster that I'm pointing at on my back, that's what they gave us. We didn't get to take pictures with Ozzy. They confiscated our phones, but he signed these posters right here, and they're specific to the date of the event. It says Sirius XM listening party, blah, blah, blah. And he signed them all for us. So that was pretty cool.
Very cool. Yeah. You didn't get a chance to take pictures, but they did release the video of it, of you guys actually going in there, asking some questions during the listening party. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to show that video here, and we'll be right back here with Josh from the Diary of the Madman podcast on Talking About Rock Live.
Awesome.
Thanks, Scott. And we have, because the voice in my ear speaks to me, someone called Dan has a question.
Congratulations, Ozzy, on an amazing album. I'm a lifelong fan, and you mean the world to me. This album is so different in feel and vibe than Ordinary Man. It's much more up-tempo. Was that intentional? How did the songwriting process change this time around versus the last time?
Working with Andrew, it makes it kind of easy, you know. They'll put the rhythm track down, and I'll go and do we'll work out the melodies, you know. And I can't believe how quickly it comes together, you know. I'm used to biting my nails all fucking day, you know. But it came together, it comes together. You don't feel like you work, you know. I'm used to like being in there all day, you know. It's great.
Sorry, tell me who the other question was from. Josh. Up there at the back.
Hello, Ozzy and team. Thank you guys for everything you all have done for us, man. This has been great. And Andrew, thank you for helping Ozzy get back out and get these new albums. I mean, they're excellent. So my question is, patient number 9 is the perfect follow-up and next step from Ordinary Man. You always say, Ozzy, to strike when the iron is hot. Do we already have plans for another album or any songs written for the next follow-up?
Andrew and I have spoken about it already. I mean, all the commitments to do further. I'd love to do another album with Andrew. I think we are.
Fuck yes. There you have it. More songs coming your way.
That was so cool. You guys right in the listening party, right in the studio, talking to the mighty Oz. That had to be a little like, that took you some time, I'm sure, to come up with that question. You probably had a couple that you were like, what really should I say? That was perfect though, man.
Well,
it was great. You guys both got one too.
Yeah, I will say one thing Dan and I both talked about is like, you know, we need to ask a question that they will want to answer. You know what I mean? Like
right.
One time I talked to Ozzy. Remember the old show Rockline back in the day?
We had to call into Rockline. Yep.
Yeah. Well, one day I just had this grand idea. I was going to call into Rockline and talk to Ozzy, and I thought I'll never get through. Right. So I called like 2 hours early. And I don't know if Dan I've never told him this story. I don't believe. No. This is exclusive to
One
Talking
story
About
Dan
Rock
doesn't know.
right here. But I called in like 2 hours early, and I said, I want to talk to Ozzy. And they said, oh, the show doesn't start for another like hour and 40 minutes. I said, I'll hold. And they were like, okay, make sure you have a good question because we screened the questions. And I was oh, okay, it's a huge deal. So I don't want to hold that long and not ask a question. So I held for about an hour and 40 minutes, and I heard Ozzy come in studio that day, and he was reading off the call letters for all these stations that played the show, Rockline. He's like, oh, you're listening to Rockline on WBLK, and what's the next one? You know, he would just go one to it after another recording. It was so neat to sit in and listen to that. And then the screener came over. He said, so what's your question? I said, I want to ask about Sharon's charity for her cancer benefits and stuff, the money she raises for cancer, you know, awareness, because I work in a cancer clinic. I just knew that'd get me on the air, and it did. I didn't care. I just wanted to speak to him on the air. I didn't care what the question was. So
right.
We were similar for this. It was like, let's make sure we ask something that maybe, you know, they'll want to answer to ensure that we get our questions
right.
asked.
It's not one of those questions he gets 100 times a day, and he's sick of answering questions about the bad thing and all these other questions he gets all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, because I was watching some interview with him, and he's like, what question are you sick of answering? And when I hear that question from someone else, I'm thinking they don't have any questions to ask him. But
for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But and the other obviously crushing news to all metal and rock fans was he's going to stop touring, and we understand why, but it's still a crushing blow, a defining moment in rock and metal for sure when that announcement came out.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we move on, let me jump in real quick. One more thing about the Patient Number 9 album and this and that before we move on to that. For those that don't know, there are 3 more tracks still out there that we're going to get at some point. They were recorded with Taylor Hawkins on drums, and Andrew Watt has already said in the interview they do have plans for them. So I don't know when, where, or what, but we will get those 3 tracks. So 3 more coming, Rob. It's something to be excited about.
Oh, so we're going to get an extended version, Patient Number 9, with the 3 tracks, or on the DVD or something like that. I believe
so. My initial thought was maybe like a Taylor Hawkins tribute CD or something, and it could be that. But then the more as time wears on, I'm like you. I think maybe an extended edition or something. So
yeah. That's the right thing to do. You know, there's some extra tracks they had in there, but that's so cool to hear that. I always love hearing that, because usually back in the day, you'd only get those extra tracks and extended edition. It was like a Japanese release,
Yep.
or somewhere else, and then you never heard about it. Not like nowadays, you'd hear about it in 10 minutes, but back then you wouldn't hear about it for a year, and you'd be like, "Oh, you can get this from Japan or UK or something like that."
Yeah, a year later, you find your favorite artist's track in Japan, and there's an extra track on there, and you're like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, you're like, "What the hell? I got shortchanged, man. What's the heck?" Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like he didn't put "You Said It All" on anything except the picture disc.
Yeah.
You know, but I grabbed that obviously when
that
first came out. I actually got 2 of those when those first came out.
And years later, they released it. They did release it digitally on the Crazy Babies single, which was kind of random, but that it was on there also. All those years later, but yeah, on to the other thing you were on. Yeah, so no one's shocked by that news, right? I think we all saw it coming.
Right.
It was the right thing to do to go ahead and release those tickets. He's had that ticket money's been held up for 3 years for some of those people, and that's sad. And I think ultimately we all knew it was coming, but I think for Ozzy, it was that realization that there's a finality to that, right? When you finally just announced, like, we can't do this.
Right. Well, you could see when he was at the SoFi Stadium event, he rose up from under the stage. He had some supports helping him out, and I'm sure he was in a lot of pain doing that. You know, he had to go through. I'm sure it was very difficult. Another little snub by TV again. Doesn't realize that rock and roll is still here to stay. Metal's not going anywhere. I guess we're not making enough money for TV nowadays, or maybe we just need to have a rock show that makes some money and shows these people. But yeah, I was kind of ticked about that. My nephew was out there watching the game, so he saw the live show. That's why I got some of the live feed and live footage from him. But I was like, and then Ozzy released it, I think like a week later, a couple days later. And I'm sure his team was pissed off too, saying,
I don't know what they knew in advance of what they expected, but I felt snubbed as hell. I was in New York City with my family on a vacation and made sure I was in the hotel room to see this. And literally, what did they show? It was literally 18 seconds or something. It was like less than 30 seconds. It was so disappointing just for everyone. And I think, I don't know what Ozzy was expecting, what Sharon was expecting, but you felt like they expected more because they promoted the hell out of it. For a week or two leading up, they really promoted that heavy. And then for that. But like you said, I'm glad they at least got the rights to it and was able to put it on their his YouTube page and stuff, so we could at least go back and see the performance. And they rocked. It was awesome.
I was pretty close to canceling my subscription to the service when I saw that. I was just like, that was kind of ridiculous, guys, for that to happen.
So, the one piece of good news that Ozzy made comment of in that same statement, though, he is the possibility of doing shows, without travel. Dan and I have said for years we think a Vegas residency is on the horizon for him. I think that sounds more than ever possible now.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. It happens a lot with lots of bands anyway, so that's a great idea.
Absolutely, because the biggest rigor is just the actual travel itself, right?
Right.
You can cut down on the travel. He can go out there. He can do literally 1-hour performances, and I'll be the first some bitch out there to buy a ticket.
I'll be out there. I got family out there, so I'll be out there. You let me know when you're out there. I'll definitely be checking because he's going to be selling those dates out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think people know it'll be their last opportunity to see him. And I just don't think he wants to go out this way. He's going to do a little something on his own. I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, and you never know who might be stopping in. There's lots of musicians are in Vegas, right?
Absolutely. It could be an Ozzy's all-star circus, and whoever wants to come out there and jams with them. And I mean, it can be really cool, whatever they decide to do with it. And of course, like Zach said, when you want to roll, we roll. This Pantera thing is huge and everyone's excited about it. But at the end of the day, it's crystal clear. There's no one on this planet more loyal to Ozzy Osbourne than Zach Wild.
Oh.
And I think the minute Ozzy calls him, Zach will drop anything.
Yeah, that's definitely shows it that way for sure. And every interview he does, whenever he talks about, the boss calls and needs something, he realizes that he has the career because of this man, right?
Yeah.
Not taking anything away from Zach because he's an outstanding guitar player.
He's a god. Yeah. But when Zach says I'll come put mayo on his his burger for him if he wants to, Zach means that. I'll fix him a sandwich. He would fix it. There's no question that he means every word of that. And I'm looking forward to see what they can do. And as we just saw in the clip you posted, when I asked Ozzy directly, they're already talking about another album.
Right. I was going to ask you
So-
about that next, right? Yeah. So,
Yeah,
because
sorry.
you hear a lot of stuff, so I'm going to keep my ear to you, my
Yeah.
friend, to see what's
Yeah.
happening. If you think there's going to be a Vegas residency, maybe you know something already. Or if you, but yeah, he said about the
I
new
don't.
album. So, yeah, so that could be a very, it's going to be a hard to follow this up. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's going to be the problem, right? Is following this monster up. Like, this album was so good. When Dan and I, it was so funny. When we left, we loved Ordinary Man. Loved it. Despite the critics, we loved that record and still do. And when we went to the listening party, we walked out of there and we were both just like giddy, like kids. We were like, Frank, that was so good. Like, and Dan's like, that smokes Ordinary Man. And I'm like, it does. And then I started worrying. I was like, are we overhyping it because of the moment? You know, being at SiriusXM Studios with Jose Mangan and Ozzy and Zach
Right.
and Andrew Watt.
It's not getting much better than that.
Are we overhyping it in our minds because of the situation?
Right.
And then once the album released, we weren't, man. It was that freaking good. And like you said, the hard part now will be following up unless, and this is just my opinion, Dan actually does not agree with me on this.
Okay.
I think the next step is Ozzy Iommi. I just think it's happening. That's my opinion. Dan does not agree. So I do not have inside scuttlebutt on that. But Ozzy's moved to England. Tony lives in England.
Be an easy thing to do, right? Well, he said Sabbath's over with, so it wouldn't be.
And Tony also said with Sabbath over with, it opens the door to do a little bit of different things, even with Ozzy. You know,
Right.
It doesn't have to be Black Sabbath. And Tony, let's be honest also, Rob, success is infectious. So when this album, it charted better than any album Ozzy's ever released around the world. 2, other than Black Sabbath. 2, you won 2 Grammys, one of which included Tony Iommi. So Tony's excited. Tony put out a congratulations tweet, how excited he was to win a Grammy for Degradation Rules. They're both excited. I just feel it in my heart. Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Andrew Watt have already begun the next one. That's just my opinion. I don't have inside scuttlebutt on that, but I just have an odd feeling that Andrew Watt wrote Degradation Rules. So, and when he sent that to Tony, Tony was only going to play the guitar solo. And then when Tony, because it sounds like Sabbath, but Tony would put a solo.
That's what he
on it.
said. These tracks that Andrew put together, he put together the tracks, and then they kind of looked at each one, and they kind of felt which guitar player fit for that. And then they said, you want to do this? It kind of, and that one, they kind of sounded
Tony,
like Sabbath.
this sounds like Sabbath. Yeah.
Right.
But then the surprise for Andrew, and Andrew was over the moon, he's mentioned it in interviews, is that when Tony sent it back, he went ahead and re-recorded the rhythm parts also. So it's all Tony Iommi and Andrew Watt's on there also. But it's like, which is huge.
Right.
I just got a weird feeling that Tony might want to work with this guy. Everyone that works with Andrew Watt wants to work with him more. Like,
The guy's
for example,
got the golden rock touch lately, for sure. There's no doubt about it. He is the man to go to for this. There's definitely no doubt about that. I know Tony was saying that he's talking about doing another record himself. Maybe he'll put something out, and maybe he'll have Andrew help him with that, whatever he wants to do. But I see another collaboration between both of those two guys who basically, let's get this straight for all those people that don't realize this. These are the people that created heavy metal. Okay.
Yep.
If they don't understand that, they want to debate that, you go right ahead. But these are the people that created it. All right. Unfortunately, Tony got his fingers cut off back in the day. He had to play heavier on his guitar, and that created the sound. And they started the movement for heavy metal.
Absolutely.
That's where it happened.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it would be very cool to see another collaboration. I'm just like, how do you follow up to this album?
That's the issue.
Because I wasn't expecting this. Okay. When Ordinary Man came out, I'm like, okay, this is cool. It was kind of Ozzy's swan song because he was sick and he wasn't feeling well. You know, he had songs with Elton John and stuff, very, very heartfelt type of stuff. I'm like, okay. And then he came out with this, and I'm like, somebody gave him a shot in the arm. Holy shit, Andrew Watt. You know,
well, yeah. So, for me, when I heard Ordinary Man, it did sound like a swan song. It was very much about, I realized my time is coming. It's how it felt like the end a little bit. And then you come back out with Patient Number 9, and the first track is I'll Never Die Because I'm Immortal.
Right. When I heard Immortal, I'm like, okay, he's got his thinking back on track.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, the funny thing is Ordinary Man was completed essentially, and they added Under the Graveyard later. Like that's why
Oh,
Duff
okay.
McKagan's not on that track, because that was a track that was recorded. It was written after the sessions essentially was over. And I think they started realizing then that they were really onto something and continued to write. Like, so Under the Graveyard could have almost been on Patient Number 9 because it was later in the process, because they just kept writing songs right after,
Right.
you know. And I just think they, like you said, people enjoy working with Watt. He's fun to work with. They just kept going, kept writing songs. You mentioned that Elton John was on Ordinary Man. Well, then Watt does an Elton John record. Anyone that works with him, he's doing Post Malone. He brings Ozzy in. Ozzy enjoys him. He does an Ozzy record. Brings in Elton John. Elton enjoys it. He does an Elton record. I mean, everyone he works with wants to continue working with this guy. But yet the metalheads want to give him nothing but flack all the time. I'll never understand. I'll kiss the guy's feet because he brought
Yeah,
me
maybe it's.
two
I think
amazing
it's
Ozzy
too.
albums.
The sound is like too new and progressive. Like I said, it's almost like a dance,
Mm-hmm.
poppy, rock, techno type of thing. But that's where it's going to, right? And like I said, some of the other bands have kind of keyed in on that. I don't know if you've heard the new Riley's LA Guns track, Rewind. It's got that sound to it as well. And this is where metal and rock is headed, to bridge that gap. You know, I wasn't a big fan of dance and techno stuff either myself. But when you bridge it together right, it sounds good.
But you know, the one move that Watt made for Patient Number 9 that I thought was completely genius, and it was just such a simple thing, was he put his ego aside. He's still on those tracks. Don't get me wrong, Andrew Watt has guitar tracks or organ on every track on the album. But to put his ego aside and bring in Zakk Wylde and say, Zach, you play rhythm he plays rhythm on every track on the album except for One of Those Days with Eric Clapton. But on that track, Zach does play organ and Degradation Rules. But Zach's on every, so, you know, he knew the fans wanted to hear that tone, that style, that Zakk Wylde, no one on earth sounds like Zakk Wylde, right? I mean, he's a one of a kind.
Exactly.
And
his sound, he has that sound, it's him playing.
Absolutely. And it's synonymous with Ozzy. You know, he wrote No More Tears. So I thought that was just a key move, also bringing Zach back just for that tone and for that aggression.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that, like you say, you were talking about Eric Clapton on One of These Days. I thought that was another standout track to me.
Yeah.
You know, that almost was like a little bit debate about the lyrics in that track when it came out, and maybe on the next album we'll get the standout guitar player that didn't want to join the crowd. Maybe he'll make an appearance on the next one now that he sees this guy's got a couple more Grammy wins under his belt. They're not kidding around.
If the next album is Tony Iommi, Ozzy Osbourne, you know who I think would be on it, make an appearance?
Who's that?
Brian May of Queen, because him and Tony Iommi are best friends.
Oh, that would be an excellent collaboration.
They're extremely, extremely tight. Brian and Tony have talked about doing an album together for years. So I could definitely see him making an appearance. That would be massive also, right?
That would be outstanding. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That could definitely create the hype and definitely be a good follow-up for something like that. That's a great thought. Yeah. I didn't even think of that. Sure. Yeah, because I don't know how you do it. How do you top this stuff? But maybe that's the way to do it. I would think they'll do some type of live thing they're going to come out with, some type of live package, or maybe they'll do the residency like you said, and they'll have DVDs for that or something, and then do that. But who knows? I know the management team there and Sharon, they got all these things in the works. They're thinking of them sure 100 steps ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, he was on a Super Bowl commercial, right? He's Oswald, and
I didn't see that coming either.
Yeah, so I know our guy Ryan that works on the show with us. He's like, today he's like, why Sharon have Ozzy do this shit? But I think a little bit of it is just to keep him busy. You know what I mean? She knows he gets down. He's a little bit frustrated with this, his physical therapy and stuff. But little things like that keep him busy. And idle hands is the devil's workshop. I'm all about keeping busy, staying out there, and doing what you can. Truthfully, I thought Ozzy would be at the Grammys, to be totally honest. But when he did the Super Bowl, or the football show, the opening night, and then he did the Commonwealth Games in England, I really thought he'll make an appearance at the Grammys for this, and he didn't. But it looks like they're trying to find moments to get him. They want to definitely keep his face out there, it seems like.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And it kind of just shows, like I was saying, rock and roll is not dead. It's here to stay. They had a couple different rock stars in there. They they have Paul Stanley. Obviously, they didn't
Yeah.
have enough money to pay Gene Simmons, so Paul Stanley did. But they had some
Billy
great
Idol.
folks in there. Joan Jett was excellent. Billy Idol, excellent. I thought that was one of the best commercials. I was not expecting that at all.
It was funny.
You know, very,
And yeah,
very cool.
when Ozzy introduced himself as Oswald, I loved that. I thought that was hilarious. So I was cool with it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the highlight for me watching that. And they kind of leaked it early, so everybody really got a chance to see it early on, which was very cool. But yeah.
So I had to come on here and sport my Bengals gear and rub it in Rob's face a little bit. I know he's a big Bills guy, so I just had to kind of.
Hey man, that's all right. It's what it is what it is. You know, they did what they could. But before we go off on football and other stuff and start throwing some mud here, we know that you have got other projects going on too. You have your own band that you started. Let's tell us a little bit about that.
So a lot of our listeners may or may not know, if you listen to mine and Dan's podcast, we both have been writing music for years, decades. And Dan's had a lot of different projects over the years. The Furnace was one of them that done a lot. But I've had the same band. We're called Downtrend, DOWNTREND. And we've been together for 19 years now. And we recently released a new single called Backroads that we are very proud of. It's getting some good radio play here in the southeast area of the country. And really happy with it. It's kind of got a Motorhead vibe. We weren't really going for that when we wrote it, but it's how it turned out. And I love Motorhead, so I'm cool with that.
Right.
But yeah, we getting back out there doing some shows here in the next few months. So after COVID, we really took that time off. And I kind of wanted to write some. The guys were not so into it. But now that we're getting back out there, I'm starting to really enjoy it again. And we're starting to get swinging a little bit. So something to look forward to. But yeah, Downtrend, be sure and check us out.
Very, very cool. Yeah, let me know what tracks are coming out and where you guys are playing, man. I'd love to hear some more from that. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, keep in touch, man. And I hope to see some more podcasts come out for you guys. Keep me in the loop there. I might have to ping you every once in a while. What's going on in Ozzy's camp? Have you heard?
Yeah, absolutely.
I was hoping our mutual friend Helen Mediotis was going to join us tonight. I mentioned it to her. She's in a totally different time zone.
Yeah.
But if she wanted to come in and talk about her campaign night, Ozzy Osbourne campaign, I invited her
That'd be great.
to here as well.
Yeah.
Folks should be aware of that and check that out, because definitely time for that.
Absolutely.
That's definitely another thing we need to take care of for this man. He's
Before he
done so much
passes.
for the world. Right before he passes. He has a lot of health issues he's dealing with. I don't know how he's still going, but he is with all the help.
He's immortal.
He is immortal.
If you don't mind, Rob, can I throw out there real quick? I do want to say, for anyone that's listening that has listened to my podcast with Dan, we are not, the show is still going on. We've been on a long hiatus since before the holidays. It's just a matter of work, family, things like that. We're trying to find a new schedule that works for us both, that we can start getting together and doing these podcasts. We are not finished, I promise. We just have to make it work sometimes. And we both agreed before we even began the podcast that we would not let it be something that was a pressure for us, or something that was just another stressor. We want it to be fun, and we both have very busy lives with families and work and stuff. So we're just trying to find the right day to get in there and get back at them. But we are 100% not finished.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I thank you so much, man, for taking the time.
Thank
I know
you.
you're busy. You got lots of stuff going on, like you said, with family and other stuff. But folks out there, look for the new podcast coming out for Diary of the Madman, hopefully soon. Josh, thank you so much, man, for taking the time, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate you as always, man.
All right. Have a good night, dude.
You too.
Okay. So we're going to show you a couple little clips here also from some of the previous interviews we've done with Talking About Rock, and we'll be right back here to chat with our next guest in a couple minutes. And we thank you all so much for joining us for our first Talking About Rock live event. We'll be right back. Bob Edwards here, talking about rock. Just want to thank you all for tuning into our show. Over the last 2 years, we've talked to so many different local bands and national artists. We just wanted to give you a quick sneak peek and a snippet of what you may have missed over the last 2 years with some of the great artists that we spoke with. So stick around. We'll be right back. We know you got a lot of new projects going on, but I wanted to kind of get a little timeline going. If we go back for a minute, let's go back to the early days when you guys were, rocking in Tallis, playing all over the place. Can you tell us a little about that? I think you guys came from the Tweeds, right?
Yeah, we started out, I came out of high school, we joined a band called Opus One, which with a couple of guys that later became luminaries in the local scene. Bruce Bricado on guitar, Ted Reinhardt on drums, 11-piece horn band. Mike Migliore was the alto player. He went off to become quite famous himself as well. And 3 lead singers, 4 horns, guitar, bass, drums, keyboard. So we did our first gig at the Beef and Ale house. I think I made $7.20 was my take on that gig. So that was while I was still in high school, and then Dave Constantino and I were at the same high school, and he asked to borrow my amp, and I said, well, I was just, it was my pride and joy. I couldn't let people borrow my amps. He goes, you play bass, don't you? And I go, yeah. And so well, would you like to, join the band, the Tweeds? And I knew the band, and they had a hit single years earlier, and they were kind of, they had cooled off quite a bit since then, but they were a pretty famous band in the Buffalo area in the 60s. So I joined them, and we had a good run for a while, then split up. Then Dave and I decided to stay together, and we got Mike Piccolo for the first version of Tallis. Now, there's since been about 8 versions of Tallis. I'm going to try to do a family tree someday on a giant sheet of paper.
Right. Now, now correct me if I'm wrong. What I heard is the original name for the band came from a horse. Is that correct?
Yeah, somebody had a horse, and I think Dave got on it, and it spooked and jumped over his car, and he jumped off, and he was so scared he threw up. So we thought, perfect, that's a perfect band name for it.
Awesome.
So we had eventually we went through different permutations. The next drummer was our drum roadie, Brian Brothman, just for about a month. And then we got Rocco Oliverio from down in Jamestown area. I forgot the name of the Salamanca. That's it. And then his brother was also a drummer, and they played double drum. So we got him in the band as the first 4-piece Tallis. And then that kind of fell apart, and we got Paul Varga, the Tweed drummer, back in, and that became the Tallis that was. A lot of people look at that as the main version of Tallis, and we went on to play a lot and get a lot of local notoriety. Then things weren't going so well, so they decided to have me leave the band and take the name and start a different Tallis. So they hired Mike Marconi and Dale Croston from Whale in Rochester, a great band. And I went off and joined Ron Rocco from Rochester and 2 other guys and had a band called Light Years. That went on for about a year. Then Dave and Paul called me on my first night of playing in a band called Sheehan with Phil Nero on vocals, Mark Miller on drums, and I forgot who the guitar player was. It might have been Dave Munkoff, who was also in Whale. Incestuous bunch we were. And so they called me on opening night when I was playing at the Caboose in Fredonia and asked me to come back to the band. I said, okay, because it was a struggle to start a new band. So I went back, and that was the version of Tallis that went on to do the very first record, and then sink your teeth into that and do the Van Halen tour.
Yep.
And in about 83, that was getting pretty shaky. They decided to quit and left me holding the bag with the PA lights, sound truck, crew guys, and everything. So I hustled that Sheehan band back together. Mark Miller and Phil Nero, got a guitarist from LA named Mitch Perry, and we went off. We had to replace Mitch at one point and got Johnny Angel in the band. And that was the band that played on the Yngwie tour. And our opening night was Los Angeles in summer of '85. And David Lee Roth came out to the show that night and had arranged to have a meeting with me at his house the day before. And I went out there because he had contacted me earlier about that. So
well, you guys opened for Van Halen on like 30 plus shows I saw, right?
1980, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was just the one show, but I was reading it was like 30 plus shows. So Dave must have had his eye on you.
Well, I just found it the other day. A lot of stories people hear, and they can't believe it's possibly true. For example, U2 opened up for Talus at Stage 1, and people didn't believe us for years. They no way. They thought, yeah, I swear to God, they did. Right. And then when U2 years later played Rich Stadium, Bono announced that they had opened. They had a great night because they opened for this band called Talus, and so you could hear all the jaws drop. But right. I just found since we lost that, I've been going over some of my remembrances of his. But I told people, yeah, the last night of the tour, Ed came up to me and said, "Hey, let me give you my number and don't tell Michael." So I was like, "Whoa, holy cow!" Valerie had given him a little card, like a, they were in love.
Right.
And he took the card out and ripped a piece off of it and wrote his number down. And there it is.
Oh, wow.
And it was from the card that she wrote him.
So they were thinking about bringing you into Van Halen at that time. Is that the case? They were thinking about bringing you maybe into Van Halen. Was that the case?
That was the first indication. And then I went out I called Ed and spoke with him. And I've said recently, what a horrible loss to lose him, because for me, knowing that Ed would take my phone call when we were still slugging it out in Buffalo and going nowhere, that meant a lot to me. And it really helped keep the fire burning in me. So I owe him a great debt for that. What a wonderful, wonderful man. But then I went up to Toronto to see them. And Ed specifically talked to me about joining the band. Then they played in Buffalo, and Dave and Paul and myself went to the show. And we knew the crew guys because we had toured with them, so all of us could kind of get in there and everything. And I remember I'm sitting at the table with David Lee Roth, and we're having a ride. And I'm looking over at the other table, and it's Paul and Dave, Talus Dave, sitting with Ed. And they had this look on their face like it wasn't too happy.
They weren't too happy you guys were talking.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Ed was telling them something, and it looked like some kind of controversy. So later on, Ed said, "Hey, come on to my room. I got to play you some tapes." And up in his room, he said, "What would you do if I asked you to join Van Halen?" And I said, "I'd get on the first plane and be there in 5 minutes."
Right.
We should.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And,
of course.
Wow. And my head is spinning. Oh my God, this is unbelievable.
Right.
So later, like about 10 days after that, every time we drive to the gig, Dave and Paul were pretty upset and pissed off. And finally it blew up, and they said, Ed Van Halen said that if we don't, step up our game, so to speak, I'm paraphrasing, that he's going to steal you away from the band. And in my mind, I better shut up.
Right.
But I didn't want to say anything about it,
Right.
And it turns out he didn't. He didn't. I called him up after a few months when their tour was over and said, we don't know if we really want to make a change right now. This is just before the 1984 record and everything like that.
Right.
So he said, but I might do a solo record, and I'd love to have you on that, and blah, blah, blah. So we stayed close and talked a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it did actually go down.
There was a lot of rumblings in the band at that time. Things were real uneasy. I know they weren't real happy with Diver Down. Eddie had voiced his opinions about it. That album, he was not happy. And I know him and Dave were butting heads about a lot of things. And, there were rumors about Dave wanting to do movies and stuff like that and different things, So I know there was a lot of tension definitely going on back and forth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, isn't as a fan that's so heartbreaking? You just see everybody all partying and hanging and jumping
Right.
around, having a
And
great.
then
They
years
must be-
later
after
you
show must be
hear,
great, huh?
yeah, years later you hear like, yeah, they really didn't get along so great. It took, took time to get through that album, but that's how things happen in bands. That's how things happen in families. You know what I mean?
Bands fight, brothers and sisters fight,
Yeah.
husbands and wives fight. It
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. And
Going
so,
well, man. How you doing?
Oh, great. Excellent, man. Well, you guys have definitely had your ups and downs, but never stop swinging, man. You always keep coming back. The band seems to be re-energized with this latest lineup you guys got.
Yeah, and it's funny that you refer to it as the latest lineup because it's a lot of people ask, is Eric staying in the band? Because obviously
there's been some history, right?
Yeah, there's been a change up front quite a bit, but yeah, it's man, we are so psyched. Everything is just kind of hitting on all, not kind of, it is hitting on all 8 cylinders at this point, and it's a really good feeling to get all this positive feedback from fans and just people in the industry. It seems like we've been together with Eric for a really long time, but it's only been since like March, and things are going really good, and we couldn't be more excited about it.
Excellent. That's great. Yeah. And I know at the heart of Skid Row, it's always been you and Snake been writing the songs, and that's how you guys originally connected, forming Skid Row. Has the songwriting process changed for this album at all, or is it still just this feels right, this is how we're going to keep it?
Yeah, we always go with best idea wins, and you know which ideas are the best when you get in and it lights everybody up. All the guys light up and really start digging into the song, and then we get together, because with this record, there's probably about 10 other songs that we demoed, or we rehearsed in pre-production that not all of us felt it, so it's no sense really to put together a record, to have a song on a record that everyone's not 100% into. So
Right.
obviously
Definitely want the standout material.
yeah, obviously Eric wasn't in the mix when we were doing pre-production and writing, but we've already started writing for the next record, and he's contributing like crazy. He's a very talented dude. He's the first singer we ever had that played an instrument. He plays guitar and piano, and he like I said, very talented and very creative, which that it has a great work ethic as well, like the rest of us. So that's why everything just works and has blended so seamlessly.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the right fit for you guys, for sure. Definitely. And I really like the latest track you guys got out, Time Bomb. What can you tell us about putting that together?
Well, believe it or not, I was watching a Beatles documentary, that really long one that was like, I forget how many parts, but I guess I was about midway through the whole thing, and just watching them create in a room together, and just from nothing, and then the ideas that became other songs or pieces of songs that they were working on. It blew my mind. It really did. And being a creative person, that just made me want to get up and write. So
Right.
I went up to the studio, and I just put a drum loop on and started playing bass to it, and Time Bomb is what came out, and it came together fairly quickly, and there were other little parts in it that we changed a bit, but the foundation of the song was just there, and it was just one of those things where I just started writing about how sometimes, especially in this day with everything we went through the past couple of years, some people took it in stride and some people just didn't take it well at all, and it just kind of based about that, just someone just like kind of wrestling with tedium and their how the effects it has on their sanity.
I understand. Yeah, obviously some of the most influential people in music, right? The Beatles, Lennon and McCartney, probably the most legendary writing team there is. Definitely. And I know what you're saying. A lot of the artists have talked about that. What did they do in their off time? Were they creative? Did it kind of get them down? With the clubs in Buffalo back in the 80s, it was a different scene. It was a different time. And there was a lot of original music going on back then, right?
Yep. Yeah. When I first joined Actor, we were doing all covers at that time. But then we were approached by our manager at the time, was Mike Rosniak, and he proposed an idea to get on the 97 Rock album, compilation album. I think it was Volume Rocks 2. And so that's where Checking Out, we put Checking Out on there. And it just, after that, because 97 Rock, at the time, radio stations were able to play whatever they wanted to play. So the DJs were really supportive, and they would just put that record on, and we got tons of airplay. And with that success, because we started getting, we were playing 6 or 7 nights a week in Buffalo. I mean, we could actually, that's how I lived. I didn't have a 9 to 5. I was working full time with Actor. And with that, we started writing original music and put out an EP, and that was the Actor album. And we were just playing all the time. We got a lot of exposure, a lot of airplay. I mean, 97 Rock occasionally still plays Checking Out. And also in Europe, the Actor album is pretty popular in Europe. They just love, of course, it's on vinyl too, so that's an extra perk. So the club scene was sizzling. I mean, we were playing all the time. It was a time where bands, we could never hang with each other because everybody was playing, and it was really a magical time, really a fun time. And that's actually when I met Billy, because at that time when I joined Actor, I was pretty naive to the scene. I was a little bit older. I didn't start out younger because my father, come from a strict household, so I was very protected. And so that's how I finally met Billy. And Billy was very instrumental in helping with Actor and exposure. We would open up for them on a regular basis at Stage 1, at Crystal Beach. When I would go out to hear Billy, he'd always have me come up and jam with those guys. It was very special, and it was all very new to me. So I'm like, whoa, this is fun.
So Glenn, let's start with you if we could here. You're known as the voice of rock for those out there who may live under one. You've taken over lead vocals and bass for the band, kind of almost like what happened back in the day with Deep Purple. Can you tell us a little bit about how you joined the Dead Daisies?
Yeah, funny enough, Doug speaks about that scenario because Deep Purple were a carousel of changing parts, So as are the Dead Daisies, there's been, I guess, 3 singers now and a couple of guitar players, and yeah, we are a band of happy gentlemen who love playing rock music, and we can't wait for people to hear this new album.
Dave actually called you up, I think, and flew you out to LA when he wanted to do his solo record, right? He had some songs that he wanted to run by you.
No. He called me up and said he wanted me to be in his movie.
Oh, that's how. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that one. Okay.
It was a weird week because we got 3 calls that week. We got a call from the William Morris Agency. This is a 4-piece house with Phil Narrow singing lead, Mark Miller on drums.
Mm-hmm.
Call from the William Morris Agency. They want to sign us and they want to have us open Yngwie's first American tour.
Right.
Great. Cool. Then we got a record from Danny Goldberg, who was Gold Mountain Records. He later went on to manage Nirvana. Quite an iconic guy in the music biz. That they wanted to sign us. Great record deal. And then the third call was David Lee Roth's office calling saying, Dave would like you to be in the movie. So, when can you have a meeting? I said, well, we happen to be going out to LA because of the other call I mentioned. So we set up a meeting. And so a funny thing happened. So when I got to LA, I called Ed. And I said, Ed, can you come down to our show? We're playing the Palladium opening for Yngwie. He goes, oh man, I'm kind of busy. I go, oh, all right, okay. Well, thanks anyway. I go, I'm having a meeting with Dave tomorrow. And he goes, You're what? You're having a meeting with Dave? What for? He goes,
you spilled the beans.
Uh-oh.
You spilled the beans.
I've opened my big fat mouth now, but I had to say, I guess he's doing some kind of movie and he wants me to be in it or something. And he goes, well, do me a favor, man. As soon as you're done talking with him, call me up and let me know. I think he's going to pull an Ozzy Osbourne on us. In other words, leave the band, hire like Ozzy left Black Sabbath.
Right. Right.
And so
And
now
you were
I
like
think
caught in the middle of this stuff.
I
kind
know.
of.
I think, Jesus, I love all those guys. I love them
Right.
all so much. They're, you know. So I got there, and Dave goes, "Well, there is a movie, but that's not what I wanted to talk to you about because you got to promise me it's got to be absolutely secret. You can't tell anybody. No girlfriends, no family, no one can know." I said,
David
"Okay,
Lee Roth code of silence. Yeah.
absolutely," and we kept it too. We were good at that. Me, Steve, Greg, and Brett, we honored that all the time. And so I never called that back. I felt bad about it, but you know, I had to. If I would have, I would have been blown out of both camps. And you know, so sure enough, as soon as that tour was done, it was July, first week of July. Dave flew me out, and that was it. I was done. That we went down to I went to his house. We started working on songs. He liked Shy Boy. He wanted to use that, so I said, "Cool, let's do it."
Yeah, that was great that you got Shy Boy in there. And I wanted to ask you quick about Ladies Night in Buffalo. Was that something your take on that, or was it something that kind of just came about?
It just came about because I came home for, I think it might have been, I came home each year for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Then as the years went by, it was only Christmas. And then, because I'd always get snowed in and everything. Plus I've lost a lot of family and not a lot of people left there anymore. But I will be doing the Christmas show December 15th in Buffalo again this year. So we're happy about that. So the original question was, Ladies Night in Buffalo.
Yep.
So when I went home, the first Thanksgiving we had in November, following that July, now we were already rehearsing and getting ready to record the record. And I got home, I got back to LA, and they said, what did you do for Thanksgiving? I said, I went to Buffalo. I went out one night and it was Ladies Night in Buffalo. And everybody laughed. It was the idea that Buffalo was just blue collar, steel.
Right. We just sit around and watch the cars rust with 6 feet of snow 24/7.
So they thought that was really funny. So that I said it, and then we wrote around it there. So, but we, Steve and Greg and I, we just rehearsed like mad and wrote songs. And every night it was great because we would go. Dave had a garage that was filled with beer left over from the US Festival. Now, Pasadena gets pretty hot, so you can imagine it's been a couple of years in a hot garage. That
Probably
beer
not so good.
Was long skunk, but we didn't care. We'd sit there with a skunk beer and tell stories, and we had a riot. It was the greatest. On the weekends, we'd go out with Dave and his bodyguard and a little entourage of people, and it was amazing times.
Yeah. When that record hit, that was huge. I mean, that really put him on the map. The songs were really great. The videos on MTV really stood out. You know, it had to be a lot of fun making those. It looked like it anyway.
Well, it was a riot. It was me, Steve, and Greg Bissonette and Brett Tuggle get together often, and just to have a dinner, hang out, and tell stories of back in the day and how much fun we had and how great it was. It was mind blowing. I was driving a '77 Pinto with a donut fake tire on one wheel because I couldn't afford a tire. Left that behind, went to LA, and that evening there were paparazzi shooting me and Dave my first night in LA. So it was kind of an amazing set of events there. Pretty mind blowing.
Well, now you're sharing duties now with the founder of the Dead Daisies, Dave Lowy, after you replaced Richard Fortas on guitar in 2016, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, basically, I had been out of Whitesnake for about a year, and just I was kind of just ready to get back. I had taken care of some family business, looking to get back on the road. And Glenn called me and said his normal guitar player Soren wasn't available. Could I help him do this tour? And we had a blast. It was just incredible. And then right after that, I got a call from Marco Mendoza saying that Guns N' Roses was getting back together, and that they wanted me to play guitar as Richard Fortas was going back to Guns, and we were going to make a new record and go start from there. And so that's what we did. We made a new record, make some noise, and another couple records. Finally, we've got a lineup with Glenn Hughes in it, and it's amazing. It's really, this is our second album together, and we're having a blast.
Happens with that in the future, and that's great. That's Scream Taker's going to be coming up, and you guys are going to be touring with that. in the back of your mind, any plans to do any of your own stuff again, to put out another album down the line a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, I want to do a new Jim Crean record. That'll be my 10th. I got 9 solo albums out, so I'm gonna start writing for another Jim Crean record. I get asked a lot about that, as a matter of fact. So and that would be a follow up to London Fog. So I'm gonna start that process. I mean, what happened with Scream Taker was during COVID. Initially, me and Steph were starting to write songs for a Jim Crean record, and then he was working on an album called Hollywood Monsters. I did a bunch of songs on that, and we just had tons of time on our hands. I mean, we're all locked down, right? So what are you gonna do? And I got a home studio. He's got a home studio. Most people do. Most musicians have home studios. So we're just back and forth ideas. And then I talked to Vinny and I said, "Hey, Vin, you got to hear this stuff." He listened. He goes, "Wow, this is great. It sounds like Dio, Black Sabbath." I go, "It really does." So we decided, let's make this a real band. Become a band with this thing. And that's what happens. So Scream Taker was going to be a Jim Crean record. And then, as a matter of fact, I had the whole thing worked out where I had an album cover made and everything for Jim Crean. And then it just turned into something bigger, meaning the Scream Taker. And I like where it went. Because it's a heavy, it sounds like Black Sabbath Dio, but it doesn't sound like a Jim Crean record. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yep.
I'm glad we're separating the two, because a Jim Crean record, you normally expect a certain sound, like with Velvet Crush, Insatiable, London Fog, all that. This is not like that. This is heavier and real dark and badass, really badass. Jer's smiling. Jer's gonna love it.
Oh,
I
we're
know.
gonna love it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Well, we hope you'll give us a taste of it when you can, so we get the chance to check it out. We're really looking forward to it. I know I've been bugging you and asking you during the shows, what's going on with Scream Taker, and you probably
That's
couldn't
cool.
really say, But
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you kept asking me, because in all honesty, I couldn't wait to tell you. This is the first interview I did since we got signed. So you're going to be seeing a ton of stuff about it. They're going to really get behind this. The label's really excited about it. I'll send you a couple tracks, both you guys, and you can, for personal use, to check it out. But if you close your eyes, it sounds like something off, like it sounds like the child of Holy Diver meets Mob Rules Heaven and Hell. It sounds like
Oh, we're gonna love it then.
Child of that.
Yeah, I love your performances of the Sabbath and Dio stuff. Obviously, the Peace Brothers tour, you wouldn't be singing with them out on the road.
Right.
So it's another track I really like, Jim, because I love the lyrics. These words you speak, outstanding drums, great guitar tracks on this, and another song where the vocals and the music just gel right together for me.
That one, Vinny arranged that one, because initially it was a mess, really. The song.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
There's so many different parts, and I came up with so many ideas, and the words were just cool. The words were really good, but it wasn't really flowing. And then Vinny said, "Hang on," and in Vinny's expertise, he took it and he chopped it up and kind of rearranged it, and then we re-recorded it. And now it's a really cool tune.
I think it's an outstanding song on there for sure. It's an outstanding album. I love the Sabbath and Dio influences for all us metal fans out there. Definitely. It's great. Yeah. And I got one quick thing for Vinny. I got one quick thing for you. Why the hell are you not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? That's all I want to know.
Because they're a bunch of fucking assholes.
That's all I want to know.